I have been given, as a leader in this organization, such trust from our 3,100 employees, 10% of which are veterans, and very much we feel like our primary perspective is to put people first and to make sure that we are constantly thinking about all of our customers and all of the broadness of the things that our customers want. I will say that what we did last year, we very much fine-tuned what we called value pillars. And the value pillars they're pretty simple. And I'll start with the two that always get pulled at the top for us. One of them is affordability. To Councilman Perry's point, we always care about what the bills are, and that we haven't done a rate increase in 6 years. We've only had one rate increase in a little over 9 years. I think we're approaching 10 years. And we know that's important to everyone because we know that people are budgeting, and, so we have to do all we can to keep our prices reasonable. So that's a primary pillar: reliability, security, safety, resilience, because the grid has to be improved over time, and then environmental responsibility. And that's our primary thing, and we're trying to do as best we can to help customers. We haven't done a disconnect in 6 months, going on 7. We do, again, understand that COVID has affected so many people in so many ways. We've created outbound calls. We're trying to tell people about the programs we have, as well as programs that apply to the United Way programs. Anything we can do, we're calling. We never call and tell you that we're going to disconnect you tomorrow and you've got to make a payment. That is a scam call. We do not want you to respond to those. We want to help you. And so that's our primary perspective. We do all that, and we maintain and make sure that the company stays stable. We are still a business owned by a community. Again, you all are our investors as well as our customers. The money that we generate comes back to San Antonio. We send about $1 million a day, weekends and holidays, to the city of San Antonio so they can balance their budget and make sure that they have the right resources for the community. And we still make sure that our rates, on average, are cheaper than every other market when we can. We definitely think about it, making sure that it's affordable. We're always comparing our rates to the competitive rates, and we know that there's a limit. We don't ever want to be the most expensive market in Texas. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, and we're also one of the lowest ones in the 10 big cities. We're the 7th largest, and we're one of the lowest rate markets for being a large city. So that's important to us. We have worked with what's happened over time. We've worked with the environmental stakeholders that are in our community, and for about 10 years, and we meet with them multiple times a year. I would say we try to do it. We try to do it quarterly. We have a lot of ad hoc meetings. We've done a lot of great things. We have 1,000 megawatts. Of our 7,000 megawatts, 1,000 of them are wind. About 600 megawatts are solar. We have the #1 solar program in Texas. We have one of the #1 programs in energy efficiency and conservation. We did close 2 older coal units about 15 years early. Councilman Perry asked us a lot of questions about that because it was early, but we did it for environmental reasons to help us stay in balance. And we have enough capacity to cover all the needs of San Antonio. And then the excess capacity, what we have, goes into what we call the ERCOT market. When we sell that excess capacity, it reduces the need for customers to have rate increases because the competitive market is subsidizing that for us, and it typically works out really well. The environmentalists have recently created a push against CPS Energy. It's a petition. We cannot comment on the validity of the petition. We are a business owned by a community, so I will not and cannot take positions for or against. I'm precluded as an employee of a utility that's public and owned by a city. But I can talk about facts and tell you, again, all those things that we've done well. I think the real controversy is closing our youngest coal plant. Youngest coal plant is about 10 years old, and they want it closed by 2030. We have another one's about 25 years old. And so that one would, I think, in the sequence, be about 35 years old. We're not against closing plants. We just, again, know that number one, customers tell us to keep affordability and reliability great and be careful not to create rate shock. And our quest to do the right things for the environment do not create rate shock, which basically happens when you try to supersize all your programs, when you try to accelerate the timeline, and you're not able to balance that all together. We've done a great job of balancing. Again, we have all of this diversification. And so, you know, we're dealing with that now, and we continue to try to meet with everyone, including the environmentalists, to try to resolve this difference of opinion, not about the end game, but about the velocity. What happened, though, last week is the rating agency said, well, maybe it's a good thing you haven't had a rate increase, but now what's happened is nobody expects one, and it's really hard to do. And the one thing that you know, if you have a business and you only raise your rates once in 9 years, close to 10 years, then the question is, could you ever do it? Now, here we are in the middle of COVID, and so we don't want to do anything like that this year. But the rating agencies are questioning what's happening to San Antonio, and the tipping point was to see this political introduction of, you know, trying to change CPS Energy very much, you know, get rid of the board. I think the word they used, their word, not mine, decapitate the board, get rid of me, and make it a department of the city and put it under a director with like 10 years experience. This is not about me. CEOs come and go. What I'm really trying to make sure that everybody understands is CPS Energy is focused on serving you, and we're working to do the right things. You cannot run this city solely on solar or wind, even they don't offset each other. You can do a better job with battery storage, but it doesn't last long enough to run a whole city. And a utility runs it harder than an individual would run a battery system. So we're investing in new technology. We put out a big an RFI. We went out in 10 languages across the globe because we want people to bring us the best solutions for, again, to manage our affordability and the reliability. We had great responses, 200. And about 10%, about 25 of those responses came from all the different countries and the languages that we pursued. And we're going to use that again to try to put the best bundle of solar, energy storage, and firming capacity. And we're trying to make this happen over time. So we are embracing the environment. We are keeping everything balanced. We are working with council members to answer all their questions. We want customers to know what we're doing. We want to get them involved if they're interested, but continue to send more information so you know what's going on. And we're staying away from the politics. We're only talking about facts, and we're only trying to make it work for you. So I'll stop there because maybe I have about 5 or 10 minutes if that's great.
Ma'am, thank you very much. Paul, are there any or Raul, are there any chat questions out there that people wanted to hear?
Yes, I can ask 1 or 2 questions. I guess we have a question saying, it says, since solar is more economical than the bulk of our current energy sources, what efforts is CPS making to upgrade to this clean energy to improve our air quality for the elderly, those who suffer from asthma and other lung diseases?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we put out a RFP in 2012, and now we have about 600 megawatts of both utility large scale, and then we have a lot of what we call distributed systems that are across San Antonio, and we're going to continue to do that. When we did the big RFI, the RFI said we would be interested in adding 900 megawatts of solar and about 50 megawatts of energy storage because it just doesn't have a long enough duration. And then we said, and then tell us what else new is out there and economical, what's more low to non-emitting that can complement solar. So we still believe that solar is a great solution. Every single technology, though, has a huge benefits, and it has its gaps and challenges. The issue with solar is here we are at night, and you're not going to get solar power at night. You're not going to get solar power when the weather is bad. And so when we say things like solar is intermittent, that means you can't run it like a plant and you can't get power off of it all the time. So while we could get, it can help in affordability, it's not really great all the time with reliability, not enough to run a city. And then if we can't produce the power and it's not reliable, then you don't get any power at all when those systems aren't running. So that's why we're looking for new technologies, and we're trying to encourage other types of battery storage to complement solar. Again, you can't run the community solely off solar. We got to have more research and investment, and we want people to bring us their best ideas to make solar complement it, not to, and we diversify. So we still need a diversified solution. We are working to incentive. 900 megawatts is a huge amount of megawatts that we put out there. And so it's great that the price is low, but if the reliability is questionable, that's what we worry about, and that's our obligation to figure that out for you.
Okay. Em, you mentioned a little bit ago these petitions that are, and I went to vote today, and I did see the petitions out there, folks trying to get people to sign up on these. What would be, what's the big impact on if this gets enough petition signatures and it gets put on the ballot and it actually passes? What's the biggest impact to CPS?
Well, there are multiple ones. One is we definitely believe in the public process, and so that's why we believe getting out there, working with each council member, coming to their constituents. We go to the council members. We have open board meetings. We have public input sessions. We go to, you know, to like neighborhood meetings and association meetings. So we have a great public process. The problem that is lingering is this. Instead of looking at all the pillars, looking at affordability, reliability, this focus is to solely only look at the environment. And so the consequences, again, they'll say, you got to do it faster. Now, we believe that we can reduce our emissions significantly by 2040, and we believe that we can meet the Paris Accord attainments by 2050. And we think that if we get started and stay focused, and don't have all these distractions, we could potentially even do it faster. And we want to partner with the community to do that. But the way this is happening, and the other problem is we have a fleet of assets that are 5 of them that are older and less reliable, and they're more costly to maintain. So what we're saying is, let us focus on getting those older gas units closed, get more balanced power to replace it, and then approach the coal units. But they're saying you need to do the coal units first. And the problem is you almost have to do it together then. That's almost half of our capacity that we would be replacing at one time. And the ultimate thing is the more and the faster you do, the more expensive it gets, because you're accelerating a lot of activity all at the same time. And so that's how we can potentially become the most expensive energy market. Now they'll say, here's what we'll do. We'll change everybody's cost structure so people who can't afford pays nothing and businesses pay everything. But if we make San Antonio the most, the biggest business market, most expensive, and that'll affect the military, it'll affect industrial accounts, that'll affect businesses that are employers. Again, we could in some way cause people not to want to come to San Antonio, create and maintain jobs because it's just too expensive here. And so there are financial implications if we don't get the velocity right and we're not doing things together.
Okay, great. Well, I'm gonna see if there's one more question out there. I was just looking at the questions. There's a number of questions, but we can maybe get those questions, Paul or Raul, and I like this one of them. We're going to end up like California. Paula, let's please don't end up like California. That's all I'm asking.
But, California. California is a place unto itself, and we mean no disrespect for the things that they do. But what we say is San Antonio is not California. San Antonio is not Austin. San Antonio, we are leaders. We are so recognized across the globe for the great things we do, and we still work hard to bring you affordable rates. So, sir, we are doing all we can to make sure that San Antonio makes the right decisions for San Antonio.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that's what everybody wants to hear, and I'm going to make sure that I get across to the communities if these types of things get pushed forward on what it's really going to do to our rate structure here in San Antonio. That's one of the reasons that people are moving here to San Antonio, because it is economical and our rate structures are low compared to other places and in a lot of different areas, not just CPS, but a lot of different areas. So we don't want to upset the apple cart here and do something that's going to reverse that trend. So, ma'am, thank you very much for your presentation. I know you need to go here, but thank you very much for that information, and we look forward to hearing from you again and seeing you next time, and get some more information from you, because people are very, very interested and concerned about our electricity rates, and we're at the end of the day, people just want to go home and turn on their light switch and power comes on, and they want it to be economical. And I know that's y'all's goals also, and we want to try to protect that at all costs. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I will come back anytime, and we'll also send you a link for anyone who wants to look at an interview. I got interviewed by the media last week that answered some of these additional questions. So we'll send that in, and I'll stand available. And thank you all for your interest in being our customers and for your time. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. All right. With that, let's move on to the airport. Man, we got two heavy hitters tonight, CPS and the airport. The airport obviously is very important to us here in District 10 because of noise overlays, and I understand that there's something going on with the noise overlays, and here to talk about that is the airport director, Jesus Saenz. So with that, Jesus, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, and good evening to everyone in District 10. Thank you all. Thank you, Councilmember, for inviting me to take an opportunity to provide you all with just a brief presentation and update of what's happening here at the airport system. Raul, are you going to be able to bring the slide deck up? Perfect. So you can go to the second slide. So I want to focus the majority of our discussion on, 4 specific pillars, as you just prefaced with Councilmember Perry. The current activity, where we are, and more importantly, where we have been. So the COVID pandemic has been a very difficult pandemic for all of us to deal with. So I'll give you a little bit on some of those passenger activity levels so that you can understand, what was the impact early on and where we're at today. And then secondly, I want to go over just the passenger experience. What are we doing to restore the overall consumer confidence? And what have we done to help passengers want to fly, and more importantly, fly confidently so that they know that they're in a safe environment when they come into our airport facilities. We established early on in the beginning days of April an airport stakeholder COVID-19 task force, and I want to show you some of those accomplishments as we've looked at the way the council members and the administration have set up a response, recovery, and basic operations. So I'll give you a little bit of what that means and how that has been beneficial for us on how we have rebounded very well in comparison to other airports. And then lastly, the 2 other initiatives that I want to cover looking forward is, where are we with the strategic development plan? Because I know that that's very interesting to everyone in the District 10 area, coupled with the fact of a full review of what we're doing with the noise exposure mapping exercise and what that means to everyone, so that we welcome everyone to participate on that. The next slide. So this is an overview just looking at the total passenger activity levels. Beginning in January, as you can see, we're pretty close to 750,000 passengers per month. And then in February, that's normal cyclical movement that occurs in the month of February. We have heavy movements in the November, December, and January timeframe, and then it falls off a little bit in February, but it was certainly in line with the 10 million passengers that we had go through here in 2019. However, in March, the middle of March, as everyone knows, and it shows, very dramatically here, the decline that we saw because of COVID. In the middle days of March is when COVID impacted all of us, and we saw almost a 50% reduction in the movement of passenger activity levels. As you look at April, it was a 95% reduction. It was very dramatic and a large impact to the entire aviation and airport industry. So you see we were close to 42,000 total passengers in the month of April. May began to improve shortly after that, but still a very negative impact when you look at the total passenger movements of 700,000 compared to 100,000. In June, again, we started to see a very quick climb that was very favorable for all of us. And then in the early days of July, as you know, right during the July 4th weekend, we saw a second or a continuance of that first wave that impacted us across the entire nation. It's just not here in San Antonio. So as you can see, we've seen a steady increase of passengers. And, we feel like a lot of this is due to what we have done as an airport to ensure that people, when they come in here, they feel safe. In August, it was up to about 267,000 passengers. And we continue to see an up climb all the way through September. Before we move on to the next slide, I want you to know that we have continued to see some increased activities in our international market, specifically in Mexico. And so that has helped us with some of this uptick, coupled with the activities that we have taken that I'll share with you shortly as to how we have continued to improve. And you can go to the next slide, Roll. So every day we look at our passenger activity levels, and this is a 7-day rolling average that compares us nationally. Our recovery has been steadily outpacing the national average since late July. Currently, we are close to 4 points. We are close to 4 points ahead of the national average. And as you can see, if you look at this number on an average day, when we talk about the total number of enplanements and deplanements, enplanements are the total number of passengers that are leaving the airport, and then deplanements are the total number of passengers that are coming into the airport. They're arriving. So you have departing passengers and arriving passengers. So as you can see by this percentage, we are at 39% of where we were last year. If you compare date year over year, we're approximately 39% of where we were the previous year. And you look at since the beginning of March, as I referenced on the top graph, when we took the big impact, you see the big decline and the steady incline that we've been moving towards since the beginning of March. How long will this take? We've put together 4 different models. We have some modeling forecasts that we have put together. Model 1 being the most optimistic, that takes us out of this entire pandemic and back to at least 80% of our activity levels by the end of December, early January. Model 4 being the most pessimistic model, that puts us all the way deep into 2021, early 2022. Right now, with the percentages that we're seeing, we're looking at sometime in the middle of 2021 to be back to our 75, 80% numbers of the 10 million passengers per year that we were doing. So this gives you just a high-level overview of where we're at and how we're performing. You can go to the next slide. With the reduced passengers, the concession industry obviously took a hit and many of our locations were closed with 95% reduction in passenger activity levels. There's no need for people to be open. So throughout that entire March, April timeframe, everyone was basically closed. We did keep a couple of concessions open, but it was very limited, just 1 or 2 in Terminal B and 1 or 2 in Terminal A. But I'm excited to share with you that all the concessions that you see in Terminal A and Terminal B are now open because of the activities that we've been seeing and the increased activities that have been occurring not only here locally in San Antonio, but across the nation. And I can tell you, yesterday, there was an enormous amount of applause going around in the airport and airline industry. We reached 1 million passengers for the first time since March 17th. So 1 million passengers moved across the entire nation. On average, we do about 2.5 million passengers a day. That's how many people are screened through the TSA checkpoints. So we are super excited about what we're doing, consistent with the administration and what they have done. All of our concessionaires have taken the pledge for a Greater Safer Together program. So we've implemented a number of different programs with our concessions, and they have done an incredibly job of staying open and continuing to service all of our passengers that are utilizing the facilities today. We do have a number of guidelines consistent with CDC. You know, the usage of facial coverings, the practicing of physical distancing, the conducting of temperature checks, hand sanitizers across the entire complex. I challenge you to walk through our facility and see how many you can count, because there's hundreds. The following, as I referenced earlier, of CDC protocols. And I'll show you shortly in a minute how we've introduced additional contactless payment offerings throughout the entire complex and facility, so that you don't have to, you know, touch or utilize any more of those payment offerings that you have in any of our areas. And then just overall in general, we've had an abundance of COVID-19 awareness training for all of our employees and concessions. Next slide. This is a slide we're extremely proud of. In September, our SA Terminator, a Xenex Light Strike germ zapping, began operating throughout the airport on a nightly basis in all public areas, including the jet bridges, gate areas, security checkpoints, baggage claims, ticketing areas, and in the public restrooms and other public spaces, including our public bathrooms and our lactation pods that we have throughout the airport complex. This robot, created from a local firm here in San Antonio, eliminates almost 100% of infections and is at the forefront of today's cleaning technology. It's a UV light technology that is being utilized. Additionally, every night, our terminal services and airline consortium contractor services staff use handheld electromagnetic sprayers throughout the facilities each and every night. And this does not replace our personnel cleaning all high-touch areas multiple times each day with medical-grade cleaning products. I wanted to include this picture of the team that has done a remarkable job in quickly learning new skills and technologies, such as the Xenex machine and the sprayers, and how to utilize them quickly and safely. We are truly blessed by our team's professional attitude and the commitment of teamwork that they have exhibited throughout this entire pandemic. I want to put them at the forefront because they are who is keeping us safe today, at least as the first responders here at the airport complex. So I applaud all of their efforts. You can see on the picture on the left, this is a jet bridge. We'll put the Xenex light machine in there. It utilizes to go in and contaminate the jet bridges. It takes about 7 to 8 minutes per bridge, so they utilize it and walk through the entire area. We'll put it in the TSA checkpoint, and we utilize it in those areas as well. You can go to the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, you know, restoring consumer confidence, what protocols have we established, and what has been done by the COVID task force? The implementation and installation of social distance signs and decals, special specific seat covers to establish that spacing when passengers are in the ticketing or in the holding areas, and the installation of protective screens. This is a TSA checkpoint that you see adjacent to there. We've installed more than 200 wall and floor sanitizers throughout the terminals, consolidated rental car facility, including all customer-facing areas. This number does not include the sanitizers that have been installed at Stinson and in the office and break rooms in the terminals at other buildings. We've also worked with our airlines and concessionaire partners to install more than 300 protective screens in each of those person-to-person areas. We have installed floor decals to encourage 6-foot social distancing in each of our queuing areas as you come in from what I like to call curb to gate or gate to curb, whether you're entering into the airport and about to depart, or whether you're arriving on a plane and you're going into baggage claim and then to your preferred parking alternative. Static and digital signage has been installed throughout the entire facility, including our recently renovated customs area. Next slide. These are two brand new features that are hot off the press. Haven't really put this out into social media or into media just yet, but we have made some significant modifications to current operations to create that touchless experience that we all want at the airport. First, we have installed new kiosks in key areas, including on the ticketing level, in the con-rack lobby, and in the tunnel from the parking garage into the terminal. These kiosks allow passengers of American, Aeromexico, Delta, Frontier, and Volaris Airlines to bypass the ticketing counters to check into their flights. If you don't have a bag to check in and you just have a carry-on, you're able to go to these kiosks, perform that check-in, and go straight to the TSA checkpoint and go through the process without having to queue up in each of those ticketing areas. Secondly, we've installed sensors into our parking booths. When you enter the parking garages, instead of having to press that button, you will now activate the sensor with your hands and receive your ticket. So you just wave your hand and it will dispense the ticket for you. On the option of using your credit card as a parking ticket, you can insert the credit card and you don't have to touch anything, and it'll just enter and exit your credit card, and then you'll enter and exit your credit card whenever you leave the parking facility. We are also looking at additional projects such as smart restrooms, more to come on that, and to implement a more touchless experience when you are here at the airport. Next slide. The final point that we wanted to cover was the strategic development plan and the noise exposure mapping exercise that we're going to. The strategic development plan was originally scheduled to be presented to council towards the end of this summer, beginning or sometime in the fall of this year. However, with the current pandemic situations, the situation and the restrictions to hold public engagement meetings, we put the entire project on hold until such time we are able to reconnect with the community. The project delivery is now estimated to slip by 3 quarters. As you can see, as you review everything in the yellow, this is the new timeline. We anticipate completing everything in the spring or summer of 2021. We want to go back to our communities and review everything that we have done thus far, and then finalize additional alternatives that we have put together to ensure that we incorporate everyone's feedback on how we're going to move forward. We started to look at some conceptual drawings for the terminal complexes of what could be done, and continue to prepare for what we have in front of us. We'll do a full financial analysis plan. We'll do an implementation plan. We'll obtain council adoption, and then forward that for FAA approval. That will forward us an airport layout plan. So from our standpoint, we want to start working with the community again, such as meetings like this through virtually. Where permissible, where we can get together, we want to have those discussions as well. But I want to make it extremely clear, from the airport's positioning, we want everyone to equally participate and let us know what their thoughts are and how we can work with you to ensure that ultimately we get to a good end on the product that we're going to deliver for this city. Next slide, please. We will be hosting 4 workshops next week on our noise exposure maps update. Commercial airports are required to update their noise exposure mapping to comply with the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 150, every 5 years to be eligible for federal grants for approved airport noise programs. The noise exposure map identifies the boundaries of eligibility for the Voluntary Residential Acoustical Treatment Program. I know that that was done previously here. You probably heard it as RATP, and that's the area that we're referencing, which has provided acoustical treatments to be eligible in residences in District 10 and in District 9. This noise exposure mapping exercise is a tool that can be utilized for future planning and for projects at the airport. The noise exposure mapping exercise is separate from the strategic development plan exercise, but utilizes the same consultant for efficiency and in funding and the efforts that we want to perform. We developed this first set of workshops, which is not required by the FAA, to provide opportunities for you, the public, to provide comments on the existing conditions of the map before the consultant begins modeling the future conditions going forward. Also, these workshops will provide an opportunity for the public to learn more about the Part 150 process. So as I mentioned, we have 4 workshops. I'm sorry, you can go to the next slide. As I mentioned, we have 4 workshops on different days and times to hopefully allow many of you opportunities to participate and become involved. Each workshop is on Zoom, and you must register at flysanantonio.com. And I'm not going to read all that, but that's the link that you can register to participate. Next Monday from 6 to 8 will be the first one. Tuesday, October 27th from 1 to 3, and 2 on Thursday, October 29th. The first at 10 a.m. until noon, and then at 6 p.m. until 8. If you have any issues registering, please call our noise office at 210-207-3847, and we'll provide that link, council member, for everyone to be able to have that information available. If you're not able to make any of these sessions, you can request a copy of the presentation or view recorded presentations on the Aviation Department website. Residents are also able to review the information at 5 public libraries closest to the airport. Comments on the process will be collected from emails, calls, or just mail through November 13th of 2020. The consultant will use these comments in the preparation of the 2026 Future Conditions noise map, and we will have another set of workshops in January 2021 for the public to review that map and make comments on it as well. I hope you all take the opportunity to participate. And the last slide?
I think that's it.
Very good. This concludes, Councilmember Perry, our comments for the evening, and open for any questions anyone might have.
Okay, well, I tell you what, we're going to move right into the next presentation if we have some time at the end. Otherwise, we will again capture the questions that have been submitted on the chat, and we'll answer those when we send this video out. So let's go ahead and move into the next one here, and Audrey, Jennifer, if y'all want to go ahead and get started, let's move into your presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for having us this evening, Council Member. I'm Jennifer Bennet, the President of Impact San Antonio, and with me is Audrey Laird, who's also on the Board of Directors, focused on our grant oversight and outcomes. If you want to tee up the first slide, please, Raul. We are a nonprofit here in San Antonio. We were founded back in 2004, so we've been in place. This is our 16th year, and our goal is to bring women together who have big hearts that really want to make a difference in our community. This year has been like no other on so many levels. I think you'll all agree. And this is where nonprofits can play such an essential role in helping those who are underserved get what they need. So it's pretty interesting that there's been so much growth in women's giving organizations, and we're no different. So what we do is we encourage women to join together, pool their philanthropic dollars, and then by doing that, we can come up with very large sums, which we then offer grants to local nonprofits. And so the cycle is each year, members join, we pool the money, and then we're able to award grants to those who submit our proposals to us. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? We're kind of unique here in that we ask a membership donation of $1,000 each year. You can join as an individual, or you can pool that money together with up to 4 women and split it. What makes our model unique is that that full $1,000, regardless of how it's paid, all goes to grants. So nothing is taken away to fund our operating expenses. And then we award all the money we raise each year into the community. Our timing is such that actually it's a very good time right now because our membership ended a couple of months ago. We also concluded a full cycle of grant applications and review. And in fact, next Monday night at 7 p.m., we're going to be announcing the 10 finalists who will receive grants from Impact San Antonio. What's pretty nifty about how we do this is women come together the week before and they evaluate all the finalists. We have 10, and then they end up voting for which ones get our high impact grants. Our high impact grants are $100,000 normally. And this year we lowered it a little bit to $75,000 because we honestly weren't sure how much we were going to be able to raise this year, knowing the economic impact to everyone. But we did very, very well. And so our members are going to vote for who they'd like to get those $75,000 grants. But everybody wins because we have these 10 finalists whittled down from over 130 grant applicants. And those who don't get the $75,000 will get a smaller amount that they can use as they see fit. So when you look at the impact that we've had over the last 15 years, you can see $3.8 million is what we've put back into the community, covering 80 grants. And we do that through 5 focus areas. So now that you see this slide, you'll see all the different logos of the different agencies that we've been able to fund as a group. So this year, what we'll award next week actually is over $475,000. And that represents 580 unique women coming together to make a difference. It's such a powerful model. And what I'd also say is that the quality of women in this organization is super high. Warm, smart, caring, willing to volunteer their time if they're able to. And you can't dispute the kind of impact that we can have. You can see this breadth. So I'll make one more point before turning it over to Audrey, which is we have 5 different focus areas, and those are considered anchor pillars to a healthy community: arts and culture, family, health and wellness, environment, recreation and preservation, and education. So as an individual woman, or if you're a group of women who come together, your $1,000 will eventually result in grants across all 5 of those areas. Whereas if you think of yourself and you'll give a donation to a charity of your choice, it's usually one individual area. But when you participate with Impact San Antonio, your dollars get multiplied and then they actually get spread across all these different areas. And so we're really helping to shore up the foundation of the city. And also with this kind of money, of $75,000 each, agencies can do so much more and do it differently with that kind of investment than the typical amount of money, which is usually raised through grants of $2,000 or $3,000 each time, or the other donations that come in from individuals. So with that, I'll turn it over to Audrey, who will get a little bit more specific about District 10 and Impact San Antonio.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jennifer. So Raul, if you'll go to the next slide, please. So this is a geographic view of some of the grants that we've given, and you can see we've got very broad reach across the San Antonio and surrounding area. And I want to zero in on that purple bright spot, which is in District 10. So Raul, if we'll go on. SLU Cancer Wellness Center received a grant from us back in 2015. And this nonprofit provides free emotional and physical support to low-income women who are recovering from cancer treatment. And so with our grant, they basically, funded a renovated facility, and they now have services for over 700 cancer patients. And I can personally tell you from firsthand experience with my mom, who's a District 10 resident, that going through cancer treatment isn't for the faint of heart. And something as simple as having a wig provides tremendous emotional relief. And so in addition to wigs and prosthetics, SLU Wellness also helps with a variety of services, including nutrition and benefits counseling and financial assistance. And with COVID this year, they're even providing emergency relief aid with ATV gift cards. Truly, fantastic impact in the District 10 community. And it's nonprofits like these in our community that help to raise everybody up and to meet, food and health concerns, new challenges that we're seeing in our schools due to new ways of learning through distancing. And then especially, we see a change in the needs of the elderly as they face increased instances of isolation and loneliness due to the pandemic. So money is very, very well used and spent. And as you can see, all the different focus areas. So if you go to the next chart, Raul, we would love to have your help and invite all women in District 10 to join us. Through our grant giving process, you'll not only help our community, but you also have the opportunity to grow in your own understanding of our community's needs and work beside some amazing service-minded women, as Jennifer mentioned. And I'll tell you, when I joined Impact about 4 years ago, I was a busy working mom like a lot of women are. And I was attracted to the prospect of just writing a check and knowing that other women would make sure that the funds were put to good use. There's so much flexibility to volunteer, none or a lot. And one of the things I've really gained by putting myself out there is just an appreciation of all of the needs that we have in our community and the amazing ecosystem of nonprofits. So I'd just like to invite you, as you consider your participation, feel free to reach out to us. I also wanted to mention that we've got 3 board members that live in District 10, Karen Davis, Joy Exeter, Sharon Schweitzer, and some of our sponsors are also in District 10. So the Eisenberg Group, K Ford Group, and San Antonio Woman. And then just very lastly, here's the information for our grant award night that Jennifer mentioned. And it will be all virtual. We've got recorded statements and videos for the 10 finalists that are on our website. And I've started going through all of them, and they just are very, very, worthwhile nonprofits. So that's Impact in a nutshell. And Councilman Perry, thank you very much for the opportunity to share tonight with your community. And we'll just open it up to any questions that folks have.
Absolutely. And thank you very much. And just for everybody's information, they just came in this last week or week before last to tell me about themselves. And I said, man, I got to get y'all on District 10 meeting. And this worked out perfectly. And such a great organization of women helping women. And, I really encourage everyone to take a look at that and see about helping out, because some of those dollars do go here to District 10, and we got some very worthwhile organizations here that are going to continue to expand their network here in District 10 of different places that, they can reach out to and see about getting some awarded dollars, this grant money. So yeah, I'm really excited about this, and I really appreciate y'all's presentation. I didn't see any questions come up, which is probably a good thing because we're running a little bit long tonight, but what we will do is capture the questions that have been submitted so far, both on CPS and Jesus. There's a few for you also, and we'll get the answers on those and then post those online or on my newsletter or whatever to follow up this particular conversation. So if y'all have any handouts or anything that y'all can have available, we could sure get those in our newsletter. We talked about that, getting some information in the newsletter. So we'll do that for everybody because Donna was saying she'd like to know more about the organization as well. So we'll get that information out in the newsletter for everybody. Thank you for that comment, Donna Dozier. But anyway, yeah, along with that, I don't want to go too much longer here tonight. I just wanted to say thank you to Paul Gold-Williams, Jesus, and Impact San Antonio on the efforts that they're doing to promote women organizations and women across the city here, and in particular here in District 10. So thank y'all very much. Just a couple of words. Everybody knows what's going on right now. It's election season, and it's very evidenced by all the signs all over the place with the candidates posting their signs to get elected. Well, that's all great, but I went and voted today, and it's a really long ballot, but do your homework, brush up on things, and vote for those individuals or things that you think need to be passed here in San Antonio. And when I say things, there's actually 3 ballot initiatives. One is for pre-K for SA, one is for workforce training or development, and then VIA. Those are the 3 ballot initiatives for everybody to vote for this year. And I can tell you, I've got problems with all 3 of them, and I don't support them, but that's really up to you. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do on voting for those, but there's issues with all 3, and I would encourage you to go look at it's Vote 411. Let's see, vote411.org, and it has pros and cons for each one of those ballot initiatives. So go in and read and study up on that. Or if you've actually read the Rivard Report and the Express News, I've actually had some articles in there. I've never had that happen before. They printed 3 articles for me within the last month, and I expressed a lot of my concerns on each one of those. And again, I'm not telling you how to vote. I voted today, and I don't support those 3 because they are new taxes, and it needs to be called out for that. But anyway, just want to draw your attention to that. It's not just about the national elections. It's also the local elections. That's what affects you more here in San Antonio are the local elections. So study that very closely and go. Most important part is go out there and vote. Jesus, thank you very much again for your presentation. I really like the noise exposure map update. Here in District 10, we do have a lot of impacts from noise. We had a couple of questions about it. Won't get into those, but people need to get engaged in that. Here's your opportunity. Here is your opportunity to get engaged in that noise surveys and how that's going to affect your house if you live underneath the flight patterns, that kind of thing. So make sure you get to one of those presentations and get your voices heard out there. Last thing I want to say is Halloween. Halloween is going to be here before you know it. So get your costumes, get your kids' costumes. Halloween has not been canceled. So I don't know who in the world could cancel Halloween anyway, but even COVID-19 is not going to cancel Halloween. So it will be happening. Don't go crazy out there with the kiddos. Everybody takes precautions and extreme precautions. During that time, you really need to be safe and make sure that kiddos are safe out on the streets, sidewalks, that kind of thing. But practice your social distancing and wearing masks and stuff like that. Gosh, that's right. You don't even have to wear a mask in Halloween. You already have masks that you're wearing. So use those things. But anyway, those were the major things that I wanted to cover tonight. And any final words, Paul, that I might have missed, or anybody that wanted to close this thing up? I don't hear Paul.
Yeah, we took down all the questions, and we will be following up with answers. Erica, we got your calls on that construction stuff. We actually spoke about that today at our staff meeting. So Samantha's going to be contacting you on that. And Councilman, everyone does still have to wear a mask, even on top of their mask.
A mask on top of a mask. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, folks, I really would like to get more participation on these video calls. And I know it's a little bit disjointed, better, it's better than nothing. I want to do something to at least have the continuity of these meetings because they are very important. I know we can't have them yet at the tool yard again, but as soon as we can, we'll be opening that thing up and having the meetings there. But spread the word. We put this out on Nextdoor. We put it out on my newsletter. We put it on Facebook. I'm putting it out every kind of way we can. But I need your help also to put it out to your neighborhoods, asking people, hey, or telling people, hey, this is available, happening every third Monday of the month. And we need your help also to get that word out. So with that, thank y'all, everybody that has participated tonight. Really appreciate it. I hope it was informative to you. And we'll see you again this next month. And y'all take care. Get out there and vote. Y'all take care. Thank y'all very much. Bye-bye.